Hey guys, how are you doing today? Today is Wednesday, July 4th, my sister's 25th birthday, and I guess also, the independence of the United States of America. But which one's more important to me? My sister's birthday, and I am so excited because she is like in love with her dog. And when I mean like in love with her dog, I mean like she treats that dog like it is an actual infant child. And so I got her this amazing shirt for her birthday, and I am super excited because it's punny and it has to do with her dog and her obsession and love with her puppy Nebula. So I am super excited about that. I don't know what we're going to do for her birthday today, but I know that whatever it is, as long as I'm spending it with my sister, it's good for me. And I think good for her. I mean, unless she doesn't like me, but I'm pretty sure she likes me because we like each other a lot. But anyway, so that was a ramble, but it is now the beginning of July. I can't believe it. I can't believe that June has come and gone. And so today I am bringing you my June wrap up. So for this month, I read 10 books, which I think is actually pretty good. I know it's not as much as May's wrap up, but the books that I read this month were a lot bigger than the books that I normally have been reading, because cozies are anywhere between like 200 and like 250 pages. But a few of these books were well over 400, 500, 600 pages. So I think that I did actually read more in June than I did in May, but I'm not quite sure 100%. I'll have to add up all of the pages and see. Actually, I'll add up all of the pages and put them next to me right now. Present Courtney does not know, but future editing Courtney will know if it was May that won or if it was June that won. And you guys will know because you'll be watching it all at once. So yeah, confusing as that may be, I have, of course, typed up a blog with all of my thoughts and everything about my reading wrap-up. So if you want to know a more in-depth thought process and everything that I felt about all of the books that I read in the month of June, you can always go over to my blog. It's linked down below as always. So let's get into this. The very first book that I read in the month of June was Our Dark Duet by V.E. Schwab. I loved this. I thought it was really, really good. It was a good ending to her duology. I loved knowing more about Kate, and I loved knowing more about August. I was shocked as it being a YA that it was so dark, which I should have known that it was going to be dark. I mean, it says Our Dark Duet, Courtney. Like, should have known that it was going to be darker than what you would normally think of for a young adult novel, or what I would normally think of for a young adult novel, because I'm just now getting into the young adult scene-ish kind of in a way. And so I really thought that this ended the duology really well. I was actually just really, really happy. I didn't feel like that I needed to know a little bit more. I didn't feel like there was, something missing or anything. So I really, really enjoyed that. The next book that I read was the Book Club Book of the Month for our Cozy Mystery series, Mayhem at the Orient Express by Kylie Logan. This is the first in the League of Literary Ladies Mystery series, and I loved this book. I rated it a 4 out of 5 stars. I thought that all of the characters were really, really interesting, and I loved the fact that even though B. Cartwright, who owns the B&B in this book, and who is technically the main character who the story is told from in their point of view, I really, really liked her, but I also loved the fact that there were other sort of like, they're not necessarily secondary characters. They're still like sort of like, they're like part-time primary characters. I really, really enjoyed all 4 ladies in this series. They were quirky. I loved that they didn't necessarily 100% get along, but then in the end, they sort of came together to figure out the whodunit. I love the fact that it has a nod to Agatha Christie, you know, the queen of cozies and the queen of mysteries. And I really, really enjoyed this, and I do see myself picking up the rest of the series, or at least the second one, and seeing more growth within the characters, because Bee has a secret on why she moved to this small town and doesn't want anybody to know about her past. And you got like a little bit of a hint between what was going on with Bee and why she moved from the big city to this island, but I feel like there's more that is not being said, and so I really, really, really want to continue on with this series. Speaking of another series that I absolutely fell in love with, it would have to be the Court of Thorns and Roses series. This is the only book that I physically own. My best friend Bree bought it for me as an early birthday present, and it's the Books A Million special edition of the book. And I absolutely love the fan art within this book. Like, it's absolutely amazing. I love it. So the reason why I started this series in the first place, because you're thinking, Courtney, you normally read cozies, like you've been stepping into thrillers and sort of reading like other things, but normally you don't read YA. You are correct. Except I did the library-a-thon, and it was to sort of pick out books that normally are outside of your comfort zone, like there were prompts and things like that, right? So I originally picked out Cinder, and I was gonna listen to it on audiobook. But the audiobook I couldn't get into. I didn't like the narrator, I didn't like any of that. And so I was like, okay, I need to pick another book that is sort of within the same genre and realm of Cinder, so sort of like maybe sci-fi or fantasy, YA. And so I picked up A Court of Thorns and Roses, and I like sped through that, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is actually really, really good. Like, the way she builds her characters and the way she does all of that, like I was in love. So then I read A Court of Mist and Fury, which is my favorite one. That one made me cry, as well as A Court of Rings and Ruin made me cry. And then this is sort of a novella about the characters within the world during Christmas time, which actually, 1, got me in the mood for Christmas, and 2, I loved the fact that it sort of reminded me of a cozy mystery. Like, I don't know if anybody else has read A Court of Frost and Starlight, but it sort of gave me the vibes of like small town, like little bitty things are happening, you know, you get to know the characters more kind of way. So I'm super excited about this series and the follow-up series after these. So I read all 4 of the books that have come out so far. The next book that I read was an e-arc that I got, and it's Till Death Do Us Tart. It's the 8th in the Bake Shop Mystery series by Ellie Alexander, and you guys know how much I love Ellie Alexander, how much I love her as Ellie and as Kate. Like, all of her books are right here. I love this series, and this book wasn't any different than just gave me more love for my characters. It's all about a wedding and a Midsummer Night's Wedding that is surprised that Jules is giving for her mother, and I absolutely loved it. We get more of Lance, which is one of my absolute favorite characters. We get more of him in the book. I don't want to spoil anybody for anything else other than that it was an amazing, amazing addition to the series, and I highly recommend that you start it. The very first one is Meet Your Baker, and it was wonderful to read. I can't even explain to you how much I loved this book. Loved it. The next 2 books that I read, I actually read both of them in one day. I've always wanted to really get into poetry, like understand poetry, and be able to relate to it, because that's the hardest part for me, is being able to relate to poetry, especially with the classics and things like that. I talked about this in one of my vlogs about how I have a hard time with sort of putting myself in the shoes of the poet, right? Well, no more. I have fallen in love with Amanda Lovelace. So there's this one, the princess saves herself in this one, and I love the back. It says, the story of a princess turned damsel turned queen. And then the witch doesn't burn in this one. It says, burn whoever tries to burn you. And so I love that. I know that this is going to be a trilogy, and I'm pretty sure that her next one comes out in a couple of months. I think in September, I'm pretty sure, which is perfect. I'm so excited. The Princess Saves Herself is sort of autobiographical for Amanda. She reveals things from her childhood, her problems with her mother. She has all of these, like, falling in love, falling out of love, and different things like that. And she quotes a lot of nerdy things that I love. Like, I can relate to this. I can relate to a lot of them. And a lot of this, like, I teared up. I laughed. I was drawn into this, and I couldn't stop reading it. I just couldn't. I loved it so much, and it was just, like, this is what got me. The very first poem in the book says, for the boy who lived, thank you for inspiring me to be the girl who survived. You may have a lightning bolt to show for it, but my body is a lightning storm. Holy crap. Like, one, thank you for referencing my childhood with Harry Potter, but two, that just makes me want to know what went on in her life. What is she like? What is she as a person? And I relate to that. And so I love this. This one's more of, like, her anger at society and the way that society sees females and the way that society does and sees certain things. And I really, really, really loved this. Again, she quotes one of my favorite series, or she makes a poem. For the girl on fire, thank you for inspiring me to gently set the world alight. You may have a gown of flames, but those same flames run through my veins. Like, Katniss Evergreen, anyone? Like, holy crap, that is perfect. I loved both of these books so much. I highly recommend them to anyone who has wanted to sort of get into poetry but didn't know where to start. And, you know, these are so good. If you have any recommendations that are like these, like a modern poet that has real life things that are going on in the current times, let me know, because I want to read them. And last but certainly not least is Fawkes by Nadine Brandeis. I actually got this as an e-arc on NetGalley, and it releases on July 10th. And at first I thought, I was like, okay, it's gonna be sort of like fantasy, that's fun. But I loved it even more when I realized that it was based off true events that happened in the 1600s with King James. Like, and then she added like a fantastical, magical twist to it. And I loved the idea of masks and elements and white light. And I don't want to give too much away. I did do a pretty lengthy review on my Goodreads and on my blog. So if you really want to check it out and see a little bit more details, then you can. This follows Thomas Fawkes, and he is now at the age in which he can get his mask. Now, with the magical realm and the sort of system within this series, your mother, if you're a woman, or your father, if you're a boy, has to make your mask for you in order for the white light to help you choose the type of magic for you. So if you're a brown magic, then you control things that are brown, like dirt and wood and different things like that. Well, Thomas's father, Guy Fawkes, a very, very famous soldier, refuses to give Thomas his mask because Thomas is plagued with the stone plague in his eye. It's a plague that has happened to sort of overtake England during this time, sort of like the Black Plague. And he is heartbroken, and he goes to London to find his father, and all different types of things happen, and plots and murders and killings and two different types of people who are against each other. And it was super, super, super fun to read. I really liked it. There were some slow parts. I think I gave it a 3.5 or 4 stars. I really, really liked it. It did have some sort of like dips and dives and things like that, but she always brought it back around, and I really loved getting to know all of them. Like, it's just, it was really, really good. I highly recommend it. So that was my June wrap up. What did you guys read in the month of June? Let me know down below. What kind of books do you recommend for me to read next? I love getting your guys' recommendations and everything like that. So please, please, please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already. And until next time, guys, happy reading. Bye.